Every town has a dividing line, and Frederick, Oklahoma, it was the railroad tracks.
This is the railroad track. That was the foot of the downtown. Oh, there's still.
I started this journey to understand where my family came from and the world where my father grew up in. I would often ask my grandmother questions about her life growing up during segregation. She isn't here to share those stories anymore, but my father is. He's the patriarch of the family, and I don't want him to take our story to the grave. I have so much to learn, starting now.
In Frederick, the divide between communities was impossible to ignore. On one side of the tracks, the white community flourished. Brick storefronts lined the main street, homes were well kept, and commerce thrived. Across those same tracks, the black community built their own world out of necessity. Their homes, churches, and businesses stood apart, separate and unequal.
Tulsa's Greenwood district was one of the most prosperous black communities in the United States. People called it Black Wall Street. Black doctors, teachers, entrepreneurs, and families built businesses, churches, and neighborhoods. Despite segregation, they created opportunity and a place of hope. For many families, Greenwood represented something powerful, the possibility of building a future. But on May 31st, 1921, a rumor spread through Tulsa. A young black man had been accused of assaulting a white elevator operator. The accusation was never proven. But in a time of deep racial tension and segregation, a rumor was all it took. Crowds gathered outside the courthouse. Anger grew, and within hours, violence began to spread through the city. What followed would destroy an entire community. Armed white mobs invaded Greenwood. Homes were looted and burned. Businesses were destroyed. Families ran for their lives. For decades, the story of what happened in Tulsa was rarely taught in schools. But for the black families across Oklahoma, the lesson was never forgotten. The tragedy in Tulsa was not an isolated event. It was part of a much larger system of racial control during the Jim Crow era of the United States. Across Oklahoma and much of America, black families lived under constant threat. Many towns operated under what historians now call sundown towns. The rule was rarely written down, but everyone understood it. Black people were expected to be out of certain towns before sunset. If they weren't, they could face harassment, violence, or worse.
Thad's mother should have only worried about scraped knees, bullies at school, and homework. Instead, she and other black parents worried about whether or not their children would be accepted by society. The black school in Frederick offered a place of safety, acceptance, and belonging.
My father took me to his old school, O.E. Kennedy, also known as the Black School. I imagine this was a fun place for the children and the sense of community was very strong. Tornado shelters are common throughout Oklahoma. In fact, the winds were so strong that our microphones didn't work.
Oh, I never have looked in this thing.
It's like bench seats, like on a basketball.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would fit a lot of kids.
Yeah, but you can sit here and you can see the tornado. Sometimes you see 5 or 6 tornadoes skipping all out through there.
Wow. Dad shared stories of how the children were sent home if there was a tornado. Each family had a tornado shelter and they would come together for support. He also told me a story about a Chevy station wagon that was swept away from the high winds and thrown about a mile away. I imagine that's something they would never forget. It's been 65 years since my dad was here, but his core memories are very clear. This place was impressionable for him.
Mr. Lee's class. Yeah, Mr. Lee. And then on over was Miss Simpson. And then the auditorium was straight ahead. And they had a divider or something. And they had the third grade on this side, fourth grade on that side. And over here was the sixth grade. And over the other side of it, primary.
Oh, wow.
You know, they had all of it. We were impacted there.
Okay. Is the cafeteria and auditorium the same thing, or did they?
Cafeteria.
Oh, you had to bring your own food?
Yeah, we'd go home to eat for lunch, and then we come back. And then finally they started giving commodities.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's different.
We went out on the side over there was the swings and stuff, and we run around playing tag.
Yeah.
And they tagged me, and I'm out running. And then when I got ready, I felt my stomach feeling funny. So then I started running, and then they had built a toilet back there in the back with the commodes and everything in it.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to use that darn thing. I came out, I started running down. My uncle lived, you come right on this way, come out behind the school, go down in that alley. I went to, it was about 4 houses or 5 houses down. I went to his outhouse. I came back, that's when I found out what that was. There wasn't no chocolate. That was excellent. Yeah, they hit me there telling me, tag, you hit. And I tagged somebody else.
And took off.
Kept going. And they built some toilets back here with them flushing. And I wasn't used to that.
Yeah.
So I went down down. It was used to be straight through there.
Yeah.
I went down to Uncle Buster's toilet.
So you didn't use the good toilet with the flush.
Yeah,
you
man.
used to what you used to.
I should go out there to that outhouse. We're gonna go right here. Just inside the door, there was another woman, the attendant, and to tell you where to go. You go upstairs with the blacks. You go straight ahead for the whites.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to sit downstairs because I knew what they did up there. They threw like Halloween and all them. They threw firecrackers and stuff down. Or they throw drinks down on the whites, and I didn't want nobody to throw it on me. You know, that was Ramona's Theater.
Oh, okay.
I came here and bought my ticket. There was 4 of us. And we bought the ticket. You go in that door there, and there was an attendant there would take the tickets. And then they would escort you. And if you were black, she'd tell you to go upstairs. And if you're white or non-black, you go downstairs. So I went in and had a ticket, got to her, and my other buddy, she said, you have to go upstairs. And then I got to get ready to go up there. She said, no, you have to go down there. It's downstairs. I said, for what? She said, because that's for the colors up there. I said, what the hell do you think I am? So she looked at me. She looked at me and pointed me on upstairs. I went on up there and we got through with that matinee and went on home, but I never had that experience no more. Shoot. at?
I'm here with my pop at the
Frederick Golf Course.
Frederick Golf Course, and he's showing me about everything he did when he started working here at 11 years old
Yep.
till 19. 11 years old till 19. What? That's all kind of illegal. He's telling us the story and showing us his town, so this is a great trip.
Amen.
For 8 years, Thad showed up. From the age of 11 to 19, he worked at the golf course, learning its rhythms, its seasons, its people. He was young, dependable, and present, and in that time certain men treated him as though he were one of their own. One year an invitation came, Thanksgiving dinner at the clubhouse. Thad accepted, and when the meal was set and the plates were filled, he took his place among the others, or so he thought. A man he trusted, a man who had spoken to him like family, looked up and told him he could not sit there. Thad was asked to take his plate and go to the rear of the clubhouse. 65 years later, Thad came back. Things had changed, and he was pleasantly surprised. He said that he had never thought he would be treated so nicely in Frederick.
So this is at the Frederick Golf Course. How many times have you eaten in here?
Once.
Time brings change. These were changes that Thad needed to see, changes he was glad that his daughter got to experience.
So at the ripe old age of 19, my father joined the Army. Little did he know, one day he'd have a daughter who'd follow his footsteps. But meanwhile, back in Frederick, something ominously familiar was brewing.
Just as a false accusation in Tulsa, Oklahoma ignited a firestorm that leveled an entire community, a similar claim surfaced in Frederick, and it cut just as deep. A rumor, a lie, but in that time and place it was enough to turn neighbors into a mob. Angry white men made their position clear. Any black person found in town after sundown would be killed. No trial, no mercy, just a threat delivered like a verdict. Thad wasn't there to protect his family. He was thousands of miles away, serving his country in Italy, a soldier fighting for a nation that couldn't guarantee his family's safety at home. With no choice and no time, his family fled. Everything they had built, everything they knew, left behind in an instant. The rift that followed would shape their lives forever.
For my father, these stories are not a distant history. They're part of the world he grew up in. They shaped the caution, resilience, and strength that defined his life. And the future of our family really began there, with a car full of what they could carry, leaving Frederick behind, and driving toward the hope of some place safer.